Hey, Sam.
Oh no!
Did you do it again?
No! The most terrible thing that's ever happened to me while opening a beer just happened.
Oh, no.
So, um, the can's a little dented around the rim. And so I go to open it and hold it up like, I'm gonna make this awesome noise. And it just like cracks open like maybe a quarter of like the lid thingy, the lip. So so I just pushed the rest in with my finger.
Oh, my gosh.
I was just like so devastated.
Well, what did you just open over there?
So I opened a Dragon Death by Big Lake Brewing in Holland, Michigan. It is a New England style IPA, and it says that it is a complex New England IPA, best drank on Sunday nights in April and May, which means they couldn't get licensings for Game of Thrones branding or didn't want to pay for that. But it's clearly encouraging me to drink this. And since, for anybody that does watch it, this is not a spoiler. People are going to die tonight. A lot of people are probably going to die tonight. And it's an hour and a half long. And it is the longest fight scene in TV and movie history that's going to happen tonight. And so at the office, like all of my friends are like, we get like taking bets on like who's going to die. So we all have like a top 3 and then one that would be super shocking. So I thought it was appropriate to drink something dragon related. And a dragon better not die today or I'm going to be pretty mad.
Oh. Is there a dragon that's like a main character?
There are technically 3 dragons.
Oh, okay.
And I won't spoil it just because I know a lot of people haven't seen it yet. And I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, if you ever watch it, yeah,
there are dragons.
You'll understand.
Okay.
This can art will make a lot more sense
if
you know what's going on. But it's a little hoppy. I'm not a huge like IPA fan, but this one is like crisp enough and kind of citrusy enough that it cancels the over hoppiness out.
Oh,
so it's
good.
a good pick. But what are you drinking over there?
So I am drinking another one of the beers that you brought from Michigan.
Ooh.
You've taken care of like all of my fun beer needs for the podcast for I don't know how many weeks it's been, but it's been a lot.
A few.
And this is the Elk Brewing Blueberry Cucumber Goza.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a tart sour ale that's brewed with coriander and fresh fruit.
And what do we think?
This one has a little too much cucumber for my taste.
Confession, I opened that one on Friday.
Yeah.
And I took a few sips and then dumped it out.
Okay, good. So.
But I couldn't remember if like you had tried that one or not.
Nope, I hadn't tried this one yet. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was funny. When I poured it out, I looked at the color and it's like an orange color.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know if you poured it into a glass, but it's like orange.
Did, yeah.
And I'm like, that's a strange color for a blueberry cucumber beer. I was expecting it to be like a little more clear or maybe like the color of beer. I don't know. Call me crazy. So I was concerned that maybe something had gone wrong with it. So I like gave it the sniff test to check to see if I smelled any of those like, common off flavors. Because sours and gozas, they tend to go bad sooner than some other types of beer. Mm-hmm. So you have to really watch out for like those baby sick or baby vomit smells or anything that would like indicate that the yeast, like kind of overdid it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I don't smell any of that or taste any of that, but it still doesn't taste good.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You got one dud.
They can't all be winners, right? I mean, that's just welcome to beer.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even breweries know that they can't all be winners. And you know what? Just because I am not a big fan of this beer doesn't mean that someone else doesn't absolutely love it. So.
Exactly. Yeah, we all have different taste buds.
Exactly. So this might be exactly what they were going for. It just isn't for me. And that's okay. Welcome to We Drink and We Farm Things.
That's Bev over there.
And that's Sam over there.
And this is the farm comedy podcast that is an adult happy hour for your ears.
We drink adult beverages, talk about the ups and downs of farming things, and give zero clucks about not having the perfect farm life.
Yes, and we want to create a community for farmers, whether you have a hobby-sized farm or a huge farm, to come listen and feel like you're not so alone in this farm thing.
We keep it real with you and find humor in the mistakes we make, new knowledge we gain, and sometimes we go off on tangents that are non-farming related.
Yes, and sometimes we put tangents up on the Patreon for you to listen to. You know, sometimes we go off in the middle of an episode and maybe it doesn't sit right in the episode, but we still think you might want to hear it. So if you go to patreon.com/drinkandfarm, you can go check those out.
Yeah, and we have some fun exclusive recordings and pictures and other neat stuff up there. So think about joining the Patreon peeps and getting to listen to all that neat stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of Patreon, this week's drinks are sponsored by Montana Coombs at Thimbleworks, and you can go to thimbleworks.co and save 10% when you check out using the code DRINKANDFARM. She's got all kinds of fun stuff up there, like shirts and cute tank tops and hen saddles, chicken tutus. Like, holy crap. You can it's like a version of Target for me, just on the internet. So go check it out.
I almost said like Farget, like farm Target, and then realized that was a really shitty combination of words. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just say it anyways.
We'll just own it.
So we don't have any corrections this week, but we do have some follow-up.
Yay, follow-up. Yeah, we got quite a bit this week.
Yeah, we do. So I realized while I was editing last week's episode that we forgot to talk about what the coolest part of the cross coloration that is on the donkey's dorsal and shoulders, that makes the cross pattern. We talked about it last week, about the religious and pop culture and scientific thoughts behind it. Well, so all donkeys have that marking because even if the coloring doesn't show up on their fur, if you shaved a donkey, you would see that coloring on their skin. And we forgot to talk about that. So I thought we should share it because it's neat.
That is neat. I think it's so fun. And I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation last week.
Yeah, I hope so too. I was doing a little more research and it turns out that like donkeys have some they show up in lots of other different religions and have a lot of different like other religious and cultural connotations. And I thought about trying to like composite that for this week, or compile that, not composite. That's not the right word. Words. And I was like, nope, that looks like too much work for this week. But maybe sometime in the future, if people liked it and they're interested, we could do some more of that.
Maybe we should start typing up show notes for next Easter.
There we go. Like a whole year in advance. We'll be so on top of it.
So prepared.
The most organized drinking and farming podcast out there.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Also, I have a little follow-up. We talked about on episode 56, Mood Lighting Isn't Just for Humans, about how to go about breeding your rabbits and what to do when they arrive. And I'm happy to announce that Rose had 5 baby bunnies.
Oh.
Yeah, they're so cute. And it's so funny because I went out there that morning around like 8. There was nothing. I went back out at noon and then boom, babies. So she knows my routine. She's like, I'm not going to give birth in front of you. Hell no. And then so she just did it when she knew I wouldn't be in there. Smart little bun. But she is protective AF though. I went to like go move the little nest because what they do is they pull a bunch of fur out of their chest to help make the nesting material to keep them warm. So I went to kind of move it and I was trying to get a count and she like charged across the pen at my hand and tried to bite me. So I waited about 12 hours before Well, it's probably less than 12 hours. Probably like 9 hours before I tried again. And then I had Matt with me so we could, one of us could watch her and the other one could watch the babies. So super exciting. She's a good first-time little mama. And Vino is still holding out on us. And I'm starting to think that maybe she faked her pregnancy a little bit. She made a nest like 2 weeks after the initial contact with Pinot. And that's a little abnormal. Usually they don't do that until like a couple days before they're going to give birth. So I think that's a sign of false pregnancy. She's like, don't put me back in there with him.
She's like, I know I'm supposed to do this. I can't remember when. So here, I made this for some reason.
Well, the last time that she was pregnant, I don't think she knew she was pregnant.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
That was like she had the babies and then she got knocked up right after.
Yeah.
And then she had him again. And I mean, neither of us knew she was pregnant. And she was like furiously like ripping fur out as she's giving birth.
Oh.
So I'm just kind of checking every time I go out there right now. But she might have faked it. So she might have to go back in with Pinot.
Oh.
Or Coco. But we'll see.
Well, that's awesome. Congrats on more bunnies.
Yeah. And then our last bit of follow-up today is that Michigan has started accepting hemp farming applications.
Woohoo.
Yeah, go Michigan. It feels a little like late though, considering that planting season's coming up. But if you have been with us since episode 41, in the episode titled Pinky Swear No Promises, which it's so funny looking back at these titles because I have no idea where it came from, but I love it.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
But we covered like what was in the Farm Bill and some of the interesting things that came out of that. And one of them was the legalization of hemp farming and taking it out of the classification of a drug, which means that people can grow hemp. So last week, Michigan began accepting applications from farmers who want to be some of the first to get licenses to grow it. So it's very exciting, and it will cost farmers $100 for the license. If they want to process the plants as well, though, that is $1,350.
Ooh.
Ka-ching. So they're saying that these are apparently lower costs. I didn't do any research on what other licenses would be, but they're saying this is a way that they can test out the waters to see if it's financially stable for them moving forward. But before you know it, Michigan farms could be very, very lush with hemp. As I mentioned, it's kind of a time crunch because it's basically May now as we're recording. It will be May when this drops, and you have to plant hemp in between May 15th and June 1st.
Ooh.
Yeah. In this one article, they interviewed this guy. His last name is Brown, so we'll call him Mr. Brown, I guess.
Mr. Brown is Mr. Green.
And he's got a research license through the state of Kentucky. So he's been farming hemp for about a decade. So he knows his stuff. And he said that it can actually bring in a lot of money for otherwise struggling farmers. And he was quoted saying, even if we are getting $5,000 an acre, which is what I got last time I did a commercial production, if that was the case, we would be significantly higher than the $600 an acre for soybeans and $1,200 an acre for corn. So
I'm glad that there was a quote for that because I remember during that episode, we weren't really sure what the going rate was for other crops. So we didn't know whether hemp was really like
profitable,
that much more profitable. Yeah.
Yeah. He also said, who in their right mind would want to grow corn or soybean when you can grow a legal crop, hemp? And as we mentioned in that previous episode, there are like many things you can get from hemp. So CBD oils to textiles to plastics. So it's a very versatile crop. I would imagine though, if like Michigan did become very lush with hemp fields, that the price per acre would probably go down a little bit. but probably not to like $600 an acre.
Yeah. Well, and it's important to point out again that the one thing that you can't grow from hemp is like actual like THC or marijuana. That is what gets you high.
Yeah, and I think I saw in another article too that any hemp that had over 0.03% THC in it would be destroyed by law.
Oh, okay.
So that's how Michigan's allegedly going to do it. But another article I read did point out that Michigan's program is pretty restrictive. And while the 2018 federal farm bill authorizes commercial production and processing of the crop, the USDA is yet to put guidelines in place, and each state will need to submit a plan before proceeding. So Michigan's actually operating under provisions of the 2014 farm bill right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of allowing them to pilot things for farmers to explore if it's something they actually want to do before like they actually have to buckle down, and Michigan's got to get their shit together and submit their paperwork. But I thought it was cool that at least Michigan's trying to do something like that can help farmers find a different way if what they're doing right now isn't working.
Yeah, I think so too. And, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for farmers. So, like, you know, maybe they have their contract with whatever company it is that they send their corn or their soybeans to, but maybe they can cut that back a little bit and dedicate a little bit of acreage to hemp and then have another crop that is available. So, you know, like if the weather or pests take out one, they still have the other, or maybe it could be something that like helps make their farm more profitable if what they're growing isn't currently working out. Like it allows a little more diversity, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that approach is actually a really good idea because that Mr. Brown dude, he actually said he would advise people to be pretty conservative when they're making these decisions about how much seed to buy and how many acres to do this year, because there's not very many processors. And even the people with processor licenses, they might not even have the infrastructure set up yet. So you can grow all you want, but you could just be, you know, sitting on it essentially.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a timing thing too.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. So $5,000 an acre sounds really sweet, but you want to make sure you got all your ducks in a row before you dive in to something new, I guess.
Fair enough. How are grubblies from Grubbly Farm superior to mealworms? Oh, let us count the ways.
Traditional mealworms are actually darkling beetle larvae, and while it may bring all the hens to the yard, Grubbly's black soldier fly grubs have far superior nutritional benefits.
Grubblies have 50 times more calcium than mealworms, and the calcium to phosphorus ratio is 3-1, while in mealworms it's only 2-1.
That means that your hens and roos are absorbing all the nutritional goodies and not just passing it through their systems, turning it into expensive fertilizer.
Black soldier fly grubs are now officially approved for chicken feed by the FDA, and mealworms are not. And grubblies are born, bred, and regulated in the good old USA, which has much stricter food safety laws than China, where most mealworm treats come from.
So give your flock a treat you can feel good about, grubblies. Go to grubblyfarms.com and use code FARM15 at checkout to get 15% off your first order or your first subscription run.
So Herc was successfully gelded yesterday.
Woo-hoo! Hooray! I bet you're glad that that's done.
Yeah, I'm super glad that that's done because now I'm not waiting for it anymore. Because, you know, like waiting is always the worst part for like everything. Mm-hmm. And also just like now we get to move forward with all of his awesome training things that we're talking about doing. So no more delay. But in all seriousness, can we take back episodes? Because I really want to take back that episode where we talked about how scary and awful donkey gelding was. God, I wish I would have looked up what number it was so that I could tell people I wasn't as organized as you were. But it wasn't nearly as like terrifying and scary as what the research told me it was. So hopefully anybody that was scared off from it will get to hear this episode and not be scared off from it anymore.
Lessons learned.
Yes, we can add that to the lessons learned pile. It's one of those ones where real life is just not as terrifying as the internet tells you that it is.
Yeah, exactly. So how did it go then?
It was a total breeze. Like the vet was here for 30 minutes max, and that includes the time it took for him to drive up our driveway.
Which takes a few. It takes a little bit.
And it was really interesting. He just performed the procedure right in the grass next to the concrete pad that's in front of the garages. So, like, you know, we didn't have to do anything fancy. We just had to get him, you know, like injected with the stuff to make him fall asleep and lay him down and do the deed. Yeah, so it was
that
really easy.
Really dirty.
Well, not that deed, the opposite deed. If there was an opposite deed, this would be it. Yeah. And it was super convenient. The reason why he picked that spot like to do it in is because he had like all of his tools and his stuff all lined up on the tailgate of his truck. This is a farm vet we're talking about, so they don't do like fancy vet things. They everything's very like set up for the farm and like big farm animals. So it was a neat experience for us because we had never had that. Even the goats we like take to the vet. So you know they're like pocket size, so you can take them places. Herc is not. Herc is the opposite of pocket size, even though he's called a mini.
Yes.
But he was such a good boy. He made it so easy. It was funny. I was kind of feeling a little guilty when I went over to go get him because I was saying I've been teaching him walk. So what I do to train him walk is I say the word walk and then I start walking and I keep my hands like really close up under his chin and I just kind of gently pull to lead him to start walking, and he starts walking. And as soon as he starts walking, I make a big deal out of it. I tell him how awesome he's doing. I give him a treat, and we just like keep walking. That's what we do over and over again. Well, I said walk, and he just like walked with me to the vet.
Aww.
And I was like, oh, you're doing so good. The training is paying off. Aww. Here's the vet.
Here's your reward. No more balls for you.
Pretty much. Yeah, and he even held still for him like while he did the injections of the sleepy juice. I should have asked him what exactly it was that they used for them, but it basically it was like general anesthesia, but he never fell like fully asleep, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Or I mean, maybe he did, but his eyes were open the whole time, which was a little creepy, but
yeah, just a little.
Yeah. But he got 2 doses of the stuff that they use to anesthetize them. And then the vet tried to, I guess he like wraps a big rope around him and then wraps up his kicker leg because, you know, the vet doesn't want to get kicked in the head while he's working on him. Plus it helps like expose the area if you're imagining a donkey laid out on its side. Like in order to get to his balls to remove them, you know, you got to like spread the legs out a little bit. So the vet was trying to get him all tied up for that. And I guess he wasn't out enough because he kicked the vet right in the shin.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. Ow. And then started trying to run, which I was not prepared for because I didn't realize that the vet was trying to like do something to him. So, you know, like I'm in front of him I'm on my knees so that I'm at his level and I'm talking to him and I'm just like petting him in the face and then he kicks the vet and starts running. And I'm like, oh my God, no. If I don't get him under control, he's totally going to kick me while he runs by. Like, you know, so that he can get away.
Yeah.
So that was a little intense, but I got him. Like I just pulled really hard. I just pulled down really hard on his head. And when I pulled his head back that direction, like he can't move forward anymore because there's nowhere to go. So luckily I had that part under control. The vet seemed a little annoyed, but you know, it was kind of his own fault. So
yeah, just a little.
And so Herc had to get a 3rd dose of the anesthesia. Yeah. Or is that the right word for it?
Yeah,
we'll call it that. You know what I'm trying to say.
The sleepy juice.
Yeah. So I didn't actually get to watch the procedure very well because I spent the whole time holding that leg back that needs to be kept up out of the way. And even though Herc seemed like he was out and he wasn't feeling anything, I was still gripping it pretty tight because I did not want to be the reason the vet got kicked in the head.
That's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah. So, but my husband got to watch it, and he said it was so ridiculously fast. Like you could hardly tell that he was doing anything. Like it was a slit. He put like it's not a crusher, but you talked about like those nut crushers that they use on some farm animals.
Yeah.
It wasn't a crusher, but it was like a clamp that just like clamped them both and then cut and pulled them both out at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or maybe he did them one at a time. I'm not really sure because I didn't actually get to see it. But then the vet tied up the arteries, that tend to bleed really heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just he didn't really, I don't know if he sewed him up or not. It didn't look like it. It must have been such a small incision that he didn't have to. Oh, you know what? No, I remember we asked him about whether or not he was going to suture it up. And he said, no, you have to let it drain. Because otherwise, the swelling will get too intense and then none of the fluid can drain out. So he said, no, he doesn't sew it so that the swelling can stay down and the fluid that builds up can drain out. But he did give him a tetanus shot. And he gave him an antibiotic shot, and he sprayed the whole area down with like a disinfectant or an antibacterial.
Okay.
So that he didn't end up with any weird bugs or germs or diseases because of the open wound. And then we just rolled him up into a sitting position, and we spent about an hour kind of getting him back to. The vet was long gone by that time. The vet just helped us roll him up and was like, "All right, he looks good. I'm out." We're like,
easy
okay.
peasy.
Yeah. And it was easy. He stood up when he was ready. He was super out of it. He was walking kind of cross-legged, and we were like, whoa, buddy, we can't have you falling and hurting yourself. So let's stand still for a little while, and then we'll try again in 5 minutes. And once he recovered and kind of seemed like himself when he was taking treats and he was following me, we put him back in with the goats. And that's where he's been ever since. And he's been totally fine.
The end.
Yeah.
But not really.
Yeah.
It's more like the beautiful beginning of a more tame Hercules mulligan.
Yeah. The vet said that the wound will heal up in about a week. And that in about 3 weeks, all the hormones will be run through his body. And it'll be like he was never a jack. So there we go.
That'll be interesting to see how quick you actually notice it.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out. I haven't really gotten to go out there and spend too much time with him today because we have a lot of stuff that we're kind of working on. Mm-hmm. But this week, I'm hoping to spend a little more time working with him and seeing if I start to notice a difference or not. I'm expecting in 3 weeks, but if I see it even sooner, I mean, that'll be awesome.
Heck yeah.
And I did ask the vet if there was any aftercare instructions that I needed or if there was anything that I could do, if he started bleeding profusely or anything. And he just looked at me and he's like, no, if he starts bleeding profusely, there is nothing you can do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's kind of scary. But then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, we had to tie his kicker foot up so that the vet could get down there. If that wound needed any care, we could never get down there to give him care. Because we don't have the stuff to knock him out first to tie him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I guess they're just expecting that they recover from it. It was a really small incision, though. If they don't have to sew it back up, it's got to be a small incision.
I would think so. Yeah.
I would think so, too.
I think that, I feel like donkey anatomy is probably a little different than goat anatomy, but I think that's pretty much what my vet does with the goats. Because she said it's just a little slice.
And they just pop right out, right?
Yeah. Basically. Well, I didn't watch it because I was like, I'm a little squeamish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was by myself. So it's I've gotten a lot better since then. I feel like I could watch it now and be fine. But at the time, we had just gotten the goats and it was poor little Biscuit. I had to take him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and you're going to find this really fascinating. So when he pulled the balls out, he just he slit them open for some reason. I don't really know why. He filleted them open and then just threw them in the grass.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not really sure why. I don't know why they needed to be slit, but.
Yeah. And so I feel like I need to see a picture of that.
Oh, Yeah, so I have a picture of that. We'll discuss. You know what? We'll put it in the Facebook group, but it'll be like I'll just write some words and then we'll put the photo in the comments so that people don't get surprised by
it. Surprise donkey balls.
There they are. One of our friends, he wanted me to save them and cook them.
Oh my God, he would.
He would, right? I know. And I thought about it because I was like, I mean, it is just meat, I guess. Yeah. So, like, I mean, I've eaten some weird things.
Right. And there's like such a thing as Rocky Mountain oysters, which is just like bull testicles.
Exactly.
So I feel like you should cook them up for him and make him eat them.
Well, I already gave them to the red-headed vultures, so.
Oh.
Yeah, we threw them out into the field.
Lucky little dudes.
I know. We were like, so what are we supposed to do with these things? And I looked at Jared, was like, I guess we'll just throw them in the field and we'll let the vultures get them.
Circle of life.
That's how it works. So we have a new corner this week.
We do. I feel like we're going to have a house before we know it with all these corners.
So many corners. Sometimes in episodes, we like to talk about just like things we found on the internet or things that we just think are super cool that we just like can't even. So this is our We Can't Even corner. Bev and Sam can't even.
Welcome. So Bev, I'll let you start this off because it was your idea. So what can't you even about this week?
So I can't even that people are bringing donkeys to their wedding to serve beer and wine and champagne and snacks.
I mean, when you sent me this article earlier in the week, I showed Matt and said, we need to do a vow renewal and we're going to do it at Bev and Jared's, whether they like it or not, because we can use Hercules to
Absolutely.
do this.
And he would gladly, after a little bit of training.
We could do a double vow renewal.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
That would be fun. It's all planned there. It will be so. But it's really funny. I'll link to this article that we found in the show notes. And someone from the group, from our Facebook group, actually shared the same exact article in our group after I'd already sent it to Sam. So I was like, oh, darn it. The group's already going to be aware of this, but that's okay. But in the article, they said, what do people really want at their nuptials and how can we provide it? And someone may have said burritos, but everyone else heard burros. And then some genius said beer burros, and hot damn if that's not how this beautiful wedding tradition is born. So now these lovable, friendly animals are in high demand, serving favors, snacks, and yes, beers at weddings and other special events. But I have an issue with them packing bubbly beverages because have you ever seen a donkey walk? Like, it's kind of jiggly.
Yeah, it's not like a leisurely kind of stroll from what I, can recall in all my donkey watching experiences. It's
a little rough. Like, it would be kind of like strapping these things to your goats, except donkeys don't jump like goats, so maybe a little less intense. But like the goats, they like move their shoulder. I'm moving my shoulders around in my hips and showing everybody how they don't walk very straight. You can't see me. I don't know why I do this.
I can in my head now with that description, though.
And also, I want to know, do the donkeys wear diapers? Because I want to know where the poop goes during the wedding.
Oh, well, I can't imagine it's like much different than people having horses at their wedding.
Oh,
but
true.
Usually there's like a little catch bag by their butts.
Okay, so that's a thing.
Yeah.
That exists.
So maybe donkeys kind of have something similar.
Yeah, because their poop is super gross. Like,
is it?
Like, yeah, it's like big and it like plops. Ew. It looks like giant cow patties. I don't know what horse poop looks like, but it's not like
horse poop is generally, I think, kind of like a little more put together.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like manure. Yeah,
I mean, it might just be Herc because he's just moved here, so
yeah,
his
might have
digestive
a little stress.
system might be a little,
Yeah,
it's a little green, it's a little loose, it's a little gross. Now this has turned into poop corner.
Yeah,
So what can't you even this week?
So I did a little Googling this morning because I was like, what do I want to talk about? And I found out, well, I kind of felt like I knew this, but Chris Pratt raises farm animals.
Oh, yeah, I totally knew that.
Major swoon for me because, like, Chris Pratt is, like, one of my celebrity crushes. So now that I know, like, he raises farm animals, and I know he's rubbed people kind of the wrong way for various reasons, I don't care. I still love him. But it turns out on Thursday night, this past Thursday, his 700-pound boar, Magnus, died.
Oh.
And he said, "Rip Magnus, our magnificent, gentle Tamworth giant, fell ill and passed away 2 days ago. This was a hard one. He was as cuddly as a 700-pound boar could be." And then, in true Chris Pratt, fashion, he threw in there, "He had the biggest nuts of any mammal I'd ever seen in person. I'll miss seeing those bowling ball-sized testicles waggle to and fro as he rooted for hazelnuts in the hay. Hashtag farm life." I was like, yes, okay. But yeah, I guess it turns out that they have like chickens and lambs and goats and sheeps and even a Texas Longhorn.
Oh yeah.
And it turns out that one of his sheep had taken home an award for her wool at the County Living's Expo Fiberpalooza at Washington State University. And he said, and he's quoted on Instagram saying, "I hate when celebrities brag on here, but I have to. R.U. named Cacao just took home a blue ribbon at Fiberpalooza. Boom chicka cow cow."
That should have been hashtagged Homestead Humble Brag.
Yes. So I just can't even, that Chris Pratt is so funny and raises farm animals. He's lucky he's engaged to, Katherine Schwarzenegger. And then I'm married. Otherwise, I'd be all over that.
Fair enough.
I love my husband. But hashtag hall pass?
I mean, Avengers hall pass?
I mean, I feel like he can't be mad at me about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I'll have to ask Jared how he feels about that later.
Follow up for next week.
Here we go. So we don't have a farm story this week, but if you do have a farm story that you'd like to send in to us for us to read on the podcast, you can send them to drinkandfarm@gmail.com. We'll take all sorts of farm stories, funny farm stories, sad farm stories we can learn something from. We like to learn from you guys as well and hear from your guys' experiences because, Sam and I, we chat every week about how our farm life is going, but we want to know how your farm life is going.
Exactly.
So, Sam, do you want to do the honors this week of reading our iTunes review?
Yes. So this one's throwing it back a little bit, kind of like the last one, but this is from Mrs. Fancy Plants, aka Casey, on June 26, 2018. And she says, "These chicks are clucking awesome. I stumbled upon the podcast the day of their first episode and have been hooked ever since. Their style is so casual and relaxed that you feel like you're hanging with friends with drinks, but I am also learning so much. Bev and Sam are very knowledgeable and thorough, but will also be honest and say, I'll have to double check that. Whatever your chores are, farm chores or doing the dishes, listening to them will make the work go by fast and with a smile on your face. Thanks, ladies, for leading me through my urban farm journey."
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's such a nice review. So thank you for leaving that. And if you'd like to leave us some lovely words too, we wouldn't be mad about it.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and you can leave those words over on iTunes or any podcast player that lets you leave reviews. iTunes is the big one that we're aware of, but I'm sure there are others.
Yes.
So Coop Camp dates have been announced. They are June 7th through 9th, and there is a link to that in the show notes. It's getting real because I just sent over all the press stuff for our...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we have press stuff now. So it's counting down. Come join us at Coop Camp.
Yes, we're super excited. I mean, I'm getting a little nervous, but I'm excited.
We're going to do okay.
We're excited. You know what? Here's the thing. I heard this week. Anytime that you're starting to feel anxiety or nerves, you should just tell yourself, I'm excited. Because technically, the reaction your body has when you're nervous is the same one as excitement. So you can trick your body and brain into thinking you're excited. So that's what I'll go with.
That's what I'm going to go with, too.
Very excited. Make sure you take our survey if you haven't yet. It gives you a chance to give us anonymous feedback. Link for that will be in the show notes.
And join our Facebook group. There will be a link to that in the show notes as well. And apparently pictures of Herc's balls up there. So if that's what you're looking for, go check it out.
Maybe that's just the final push for you to finally join that Facebook group.
It might be. We don't judge.
Not at all. And like we said, review us in all the places. And if you really like us, download the episode when you listen and hit that subscribe button, because those numbers help us in a very free way.
Yes. And we have merch. There will be a link to both of our shops in the show notes. One of the shops, we have some super awesome stuff that Sam makes. And in fact, one of them is something new. I'm sure I'll have it on Instagram before this episode drops, but just in case you didn't see it yet, it's like a white koozie that has our logo on it. And it's super adorable and very modern looking. And I love it. Yes. So there's that. And then we have like shirts and camping cups and all sorts of stuff in the other merch shop that like the pros make.
Yeah. Because, we both work full-time jobs and have our little farms.
And do this podcast.
Yeah. So we can't make everything, but I do enjoy making things for people. Somebody ordered a half dozen of the wine tumblers.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
It is.
I finished those up today and they'll go out in the mail tomorrow. So if you're listening, I hope you're enjoying those because you probably have them by now. And we have a hashtag. Use hashtag #DrinkAndFarm on Instagram anytime you are drinking something you love and farming safely, like no drinking and using an auger,
Or a wood chipper. That's what I've been doing all week. Wood chipper. Why did I say it so weird? Wood chipper. There we go.
Wood chipper. We share those every Tuesday and Thursday and sometimes in our Instagram stories because we love seeing you guys drink and farm and hang out as a little community on the internet. And this is your community and we want to share it with you and each other. So feel free to use that.
Yeah. And thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. This was a fun one. I mean, there are always fun ones.
I was going to say, honest. I feel like we say that a lot. This was a fun one. I feel like we've hit like a groove. Does that make sense? Like,
heck yeah.
We've been testing out different things and testing out like how serious should we go? Like how, like, I don't know what the word is, but like we
how
have enough
corners we should have.
Yeah. I mean, it turns out it's a lot. I love corners. Corners are fun. But yeah, we have a lot of fun stuff going on our own farms, and there's a lot of fun stuff going on like out there on the internet in the farm world. So it's kind of made it easy. We fell into a groove.
Yes.
There we go.
I like it. It's groovy.
Groovy corner. So drink,
farm,
and give zero clucks. Bye, guys.
Farm things, we drink